Ed Dean, weekdays 5 to 7 p.m. on FM 99.9, 94.7, and 100.7. The views expressed on the following program are those of the hosts, callers, and guests, and are not necessarily those of WMEL staff, management, or advertisers.
This is Joe Steckler, folks, your host for Helping Seniors, the radio arm of Helping Seniors of Brevard.org. You know, it's not often that I get to be in a radio booth with the two guys that got in here with me today. John Harper, who is the owner of radio station WMEL 1510, and Kerry Fink, who is the president of TYG Media, but he's also is the interim director for Helping Seniors. And it's exciting to me because I watched John as he's made advances with his radio station here. I'm doing things I never thought I would be doing 30 years ago. And while I'm 83 years old, these two young whippersnappers are much, much less than I am. But what it really does, folks, it shows how people of all ages can work together, can have fun together, can do things to help other people together. And the more we understand and appreciate that fact, the better off we all are. I'm going to ask John to give everybody a sort of a breakdown of what the radio station is doing right now, but I've always believed that WMEL AM 1510 now has been very, very senior friendly. And while we had a name change and everything else over the last couple of years, we've had the frequency change, John, we really need our listeners to tell the other people about a change, right? It'd be a big help.
Absolutely, Joe. It sure would be. Thanks for allowing me to be a guest or a co-host here.
Well, this is talk radio. It's a lot of fun.
And we got Kerry here as well. I appreciate it. It's different being on this side of the glass. But before we get into that, and I want to talk about the other radio stations that we're on as well as we're speaking. But you and I think, Joe, you know that you are now here in Brevard County. You are the longest running talk show host here in Brevard County. Did you know that?
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, and you and I go way back. I remember the very first day that you came into our old studios that used to be located on Turtle Mound Road, and it was a hot summer day. We weren't on the air yet. And I was painting some of the offices inside the building. And I was in my painting outfit with paint covered from head to toe on me. And you asked, who's the owner? I said, I am. And you said, no, not of the painting company. Who's the owner of the radio station? And so you and I go way back, but we're excited about you being the longest running talk show host here on the Space Coast. We're very proud of that for you, Joe. That's kind of a special thing.
It's very special to me too, John, because I have seen in radio, talk radio especially, so many people that they sort of voice all kinds of different thoughts, schemes, rhythm, rhymes. But to focus in on the seniors is not something generally the talk shows do.
Well, not too much. In fact, not at all, except for what we do here with your show every Thursdays from 1 to 2 p.m. on our Talk to Me radio network now. And folks have a number of different ways in which they can listen to us. Of course, they can hear us on AM 1510 WMEL for the entire Space Coast. If they're listening in the Palm Bay area, they can hear us on FM 100.7 in Vieira and Suntree on FM 94.7, in the Cocoa, Rockledge, and Merritt Island area on FM 99.9, and of course they can hear your show streaming online live at 1510WMEL.com. So that's something new that we are now AM and FM, or as we like to call it, instead of just calling us the Talk to Me station, we're now the Talk to Me network.
Kerry, the other fellow in the station, folks, is Kerry Fink. Kerry also has a radio background, and this is why I'm excited, because he not only does he have radio, but he got television. So we're bringing a whole new host of strengths to our program. Kerry, how would you elucidate a little bit here?
Well, I'm excited about this. I love seeing the radio station grow the way it has. It's been a friend to helping seniors for so many years, and now to be able to be broadcasting with 50,000 watts, and now not only covering the immediate area, I'm talking about, Cocoa and Melbourne, but really, almost over into Orlando, up to Daytona, all the way south. It's a phenomenal coverage opportunity. And now, as John was speaking, being able to have coverage now on FM stations, we really are able to hit audiences wherever they are. If they've got a car radio, they're good. If they've got a smartphone, they're good. They can listen online. If they have an FM tuner, they're good. And I think this is going to usher in a whole opportunity because, as you know, the mission of helping seniors is to educate and inform and connect people to the resources that they need. And this is like such an important tool. I read a statistic literally yesterday. I was talking to some people about the power of marketing, and the statistic, and this may be surprising, is that still today 55% of Americans listen to radio today. And
because so many people think that radio is just a thing of the past. It's not.
No, it's the thing. I always call it the original multitasking media, because this is what you could do when you're at work. You wouldn't get yelled at if you listened to the radio. If you're taking a shower, you can listen to the radio. You can drive and you can listen to the radio. You're not going to get pulled over for texting. You're listening to the radio. It's the perfect medium.
Well, the other good thing about it is that you think about all the sponsors we have, and I'm going to read a list of sponsors the first part of the show, and I'll read some of the second, because it's important that more people realize that they can make a sponsor, a partner in this network, so that the uninformed people in the county can be better informed about what is available. For instance, right now, some of the sponsors we have are Kindred at Home. That's the long-term hospital down across from the airport. The Eye Institute, Dr. Lee Sheldon, Dental Implants, Bill Johnson, elder law attorney. This radio station, Woodstock Hospital System, Levin Home Care, Sun Beachside is one of the newest assisted living facilities in Brevard County. Ebony News Today, the Black newspaper, Riverview Senior Resort, Organized Creative Solutions, Brevard Chiropractic, Cobblestone Realty, and Marketing Memory Care. Think about that, John. You're in the radio, and I've talked to you for years about people believing in WMEL as a station that's trying to pull together resources for seniors. So I've always felt that, believed that more of our senior type care businesses should be stronger advocates of marketing and sponsoring and radio advertising.
Well, of course, and you're absolutely right, Joe. I can't disagree with that at all. And at the same time, the aging population throughout the country, and especially here in Brevard County as such, where we, as a senior-friendly type of radio station, we're a perfect outlet here to be able to get that message out with all of the sponsors that you just mentioned, along with many more that are yet to come.
Right, Kerry, we've talked about this, and you being the director of the program, about the importance of communicating with seniors. We just need to do a better job of it. And as an old radio guy, a TV guy, how do you think we can do a better job of pulling this whole thing together so that people are better informed? And you said, like, the mission of the organization is to inform, educate, and connect.
Notice, Kerry, when he said old radio guy, he was looking at you, not me.
I'm totally up with that, too. Well, I was thinking I think it was last week, or maybe it was the week before, and I was calling in when to the radio program here, and I was actually on location. There was a senior expo going on in Merritt Island, and so Helping Seniors was there. We were presenting materials at that time. We were in the middle of the final week of the Win the Jaguar, and people were excited about all of that. But it occurred to me as people come out, they're really seeking information. You know, when we did the survey that was published in Senior Scene and all of that, and the responses came back, the number one need that seniors self-reported is that they need, it was funny. You would think they would say money. You would think they would say health. You would think they would say housing. You would think they would say transportation, and many did. I'm not saying they didn't. Yeah. But the number one thing that people said they needed help with was information. And I think that's the real strength of what Helping Seniors does. Being such a small, tight, efficient organization, it is phenomenal the way that Kay, when she takes a caller and learns about the situation, really digs into that, how everybody is able to get a situation connected. It's because the experience of knowing how to get a senior connected to a resource. And sometimes you're just one phone call away. It's just one thing that will make that connection. And that's why our message of trying to get the information out via every media that we can is so important. People came up to me right and left. They say, oh, we love Joe Steckler. We read him in Hometown News. We read him in, all the columns. They know that you've been a strong voice and an advocate for seniors for years. And WMEL has been part of that for 16, 17 years?
25.
Well, there you go.
I keep forgetting about that because it was even before before it was when I was with FIT.
That's right.
Oh my gosh, I never even thought about that.
I have.
I've been after people trying to get in their back pocketbooks for a long time. But seriously, folks, I do have an article since it's going to be coming out in all of the media magazines. The lead magazine will have the story as I'm proposing to the people of Brevard County that they think about being a member of what I call $1,100 donors a year to different types of organizations. We cannot expect the government to pay the whole bill, the whole ball of wax. It's just not going to happen. But at the same time, too often we think that, or too often we don't understand the importance of the power of collective giving. If we have a number of people contributing a little bit, but maybe making themselves dedicated donors, we can do a lot more to help more people. And it should be designed in a better way so that it doesn't become a burden on any one organization or any one person. John?
That certainly would be correct, Joe, to say it that way, that it wouldn't be a burden upon any one person. But we need a group of many to help shoulder that responsibility here for the seniors of Brevard County, for our entire listening area here on the east central coast of Florida, and throughout the nation for that matter. I mean, here we are in Florida. What are the statistics, Joe, that you've talked about many times in the past?
In a county of 545,000 people, 265,000 qualify as senior citizens. And, when you think about it, folks, when I mentioned giving $100 a year, and not just to helping seniors, you pick the organization or organizations. Many people give to multiple organizations. It's also not surprising to me, listeners, because I have found that people in Brevard County are very, very, very generous. I'll give you an example. Kerry mentioned we had the Jaguar raffle, and we had a Saturday night, and a lady in Indian won the car, and she was just thrilled. She said, "I just can't believe it, I won it." But the way she found out about it was she came to this church that I was speaking at that night, and she heard what I had to say. And she said, "I was aware of the work that you do, and I know how important it is, so that's why I elected to buy the tickets. But the pastor at the church let me speak at all the services. And over a weekend, we sold over $8,000 worth of tickets on a Jaguar. So that tells me that many people are willing to support if they know what their money is being used for. I get turned off by all these phone calls. In organizations I've been connected with, we've never gone over on a phone circuit and tried to beat people up for money. I just don't believe in doing that. I believe in getting a letter out to people. And this is ironic, and John, you've probably heard me say this before. I know that people read what I send because I've had people call me up and ask me, what did I say in my handwritten note? They couldn't read it, so they called me and asked me what I said to them. And that's kind of hard sometimes when you're signing hundreds of those things.
Actually, though, in a handwritten note, Joe, that you've done so many times in the past, that is very powerful in itself in this day and age, because usually people are getting emails, they're getting the robocalls or things like that. Getting a handwritten note is very powerful.
It is. And, you know, I actually enjoy fundraising. I hate the work of it and the mechanics of it and all that because I know how hard it is. But if I write a letter and somebody that gets the letter, if they understand what it is that we're trying to do and are willing to donate to help us help other people, that's such a good feeling. It really is. Kerry, you're nodding your head over there.
No, I was just thinking about, you know, people oftentimes assume, there was a statistic I think that you had quoted about that people assume that there's all this government funding that helps not-for-profits, and they don't realize that it really happens because people support the cause. And in this case, you know, people can call anytime, 24 hours a day, to the Senior Information Hotline, and there's people who care who are going to pick up the phone. Kay is going to make sure that we do our best to try to assist that person. And people forget when they make a donation or they help support helping seniors, what they're really doing is they are paying it forward. They're doing something that's going to help somebody they may never, ever meet. But there's no charge for calling Helping Seniors because of the expertise of the people that are connected to Helping Seniors. There's testimony after testimony where somebody's been helped. I mean, everything you've told the story about the vet who couldn't get into his own home because he had a situation where he couldn't get up his own stairs, right. And you found a solution. I told somebody yesterday about the story. You had somebody that just simply couldn't chew. There was no way and you found a resource to be able to get them connected with some teeth. It sounds like a small thing, but what kind of an impact does that have on somebody's life? You know, and one story at a time. It's been 1,600 people over the course of Helping Seniors already.
It's more than 1,600 now, and that's that you bring that out. We don't charge for our service, and if we did charge, it would probably we wouldn't have any problem at all making our budget. We would not have a problem, but we don't charge because the people, generally speaking, the people that need our help are people that can't really afford. I spoke at a group of retired Harris employees one time, and two women came up to me after the show, and they were in their late 80s, early 90s, and they said to me, you were talking about this aid and attendance, Mr. Steckler. I said, yes. And I said, are you unremarried widows of a World War II veteran? Well, one was World War II and one was Korea. And they both were, and they were living on $800 a month pensions. And heavens, they were eligible for between $1,200 and $1,400 extra a month. And they had no knowledge of that. And but over the years now, I've seen, since we've been talking more and more about these failures of people to be better informed, more people are becoming better informed. And so people are starting to realize that there are sources of help. The Older American Act that Lyndon Johnson got passed in 1965 caused a lot of grief for people. And people think of it as just simply an entitlement program. But it's needed. It's necessary. Not everybody can afford to plan for their aging. John?
Well, certainly it's very expensive and cost prohibitive in many cases, and therefore the things that we are able to do through this organization, getting the word out there to people, making them totally aware of what is available for them. As you mentioned, these ladies were not aware that they could get an additional $1,200 a month on top of what they had. That makes a big difference in one's lifestyle.
Well, it's like winning the lotto.
Yeah.
It really is. It is. Kerry, in a short time, you've been connected with us about We got about 2 minutes to go before the break, folks. But I'm gonna run it right up as close as I can because I got these guys in the studio with me because there's a wealth of knowledge here. Let's go back and talk about radio just for a minute. Kerry, John's been on radio for years. I don't know how long you've been in radio. How long?
Since I was 16. So being that must be...
They didn't help me much.
That's 16. Like 40 years.
Okay. Like now I can add it up and find out how old you are.
Yeah.
But what changes have you seen in radio over the years?
Well, I think the number one thing we already talked about is the distribution technology. It's still radio. It's people love radio, especially as busy and multitasking as we are today. It's just not always specifically AM, FM. A lot of times it's internet, but it's the same concept. It's a companion. It's an informative thing. It's your friend. You know, people, as you know, one of the things that we understand a lot of times, seniors, they need a connection. They need somebody to talk to, and radio is a great outlet for all of that.
John?
Yeah, couldn't agree more with what Kerry Fink just said. Radio is a great outlet. And Kerry, actually, you had a statistic a moment ago about the number of people who listen to the radio during the course of the week. I had a report recently that came out that indicated those over the age of, those 12 years of age and above are listening to the radio at least 5 minutes during the course of the week, and that number in percentage-wise was something like 92% of Americans.
Right.
And that's incredible. And in fact, Kerry, that number really has not gone down since the days that you and I started in radio. It's maintained about the same percentage. Yeah.
Okay,
which is incredible.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back. We haven't even got to the sheet of paper I showed Kerry and John I want to talk about, so we'll get to that on the other side of the break here. Stay with us, folks.
Actually, Joe, I want to remind everybody that you're listening to the Talk to Me network, and that is AM 1510, WMEL for the entire Space Coast, FM 100.7 for Melbourne and Palm Bay, FM 94.7 Vieira and Suntree, and FM 99.9 Cocoa, Rockledge, and Merritt Island, and you can hear us online at 1510WMEL.com. We're coming up to the bottom of the hour. We'll have a news and weather update, then back with more of Joe Steckler here as we're talking with Joe Steckler, Kerry Fink, and myself, John Harper, here on the Talk to Me Radio Network.
It's the Talk to Me Network on AM 1510, FM 99.9, 94.7, and 100.7.
This is Joe Steckler, folks. We're back live with the second half of Helping Seniors. Before I get into the show, I want to just mention, because we made an effort during the first part of the show to show you the importance of our sponsors, our partners. We call them partners because every one of these organizations that support this senior network are organizations that perform services to seniors. And that's why it's so important for all of us in Brevard County, and we've got some tremendous businesses in here that help take care of seniors, but they need to market themselves to the seniors. And this is really the only senior radio station in the area. So it makes more sense to advertise. In addition to the ones I met on the first part of the show, Senior Scene Magazine, Hometown News, and there are 40,000 people that read Senior Scene Magazine. Now, Hometown News has a distribution of 245,000 in Brevard and Indian River counties, folks. Spotlight Magazine, Seniors Helping Seniors, the Fountains of Melbourne, Courtney and Braswell, Barbara McIntyre, who is a home equity loan specialist, and I know she's helped a lot of seniors. And there are ways to do it safely, folks. But Canadian Meds of Melbourne, Ear Care, Vitas Hospice, Handy Pro, Al Dia Today, the Spanish newspaper, In-Home Personal Services, and Veterans Realty. Those are all organizations that we've had on the radio station. We've had them on television shows, and you can go to helpingseniors.org, pull down our media program under, look at all the radio shows that we have archived here, look at the newspaper articles, and look at all the television shows. By the time we finish, by the time we reach the next 3 or 4 months, we will have over 400, close to 400 television shows archived on this network. Not too many people can say that. That's why it's so important, and that's why I was very, very pleased to have John and Kerry on the radio show with me today. John, talk a little bit more about the importance of a radio station that's friendly to seniors. You're a radio station owner. You've been in this business a long time. Perhaps you and Kerry can both help our listeners understand the importance of the type of information you can get through talk radio.
Well, on Talk Radio, Joe, we offer a wide variety of topics and discussions throughout the day, throughout the night, topics that entertain. And in this particular case, we're talking about topics, discussions, guests that inform the listener about various things that are relevant and pertinent to them, their families, their overall lifestyle here on the Space Coast of Florida. And in this case, talking about issues that affect seniors in our aging population here.
Okay, Kerry?
I was just going to kind of dovetail on the sponsor part of this, because if you're a business in Brevard County or you do anything that impacts people in Brevard County, guess what? You have to have a senior focus. We live in a county where 1 in 4 people is actually 65 plus. And if you want to use the AARP definition, it's 1 in 2 people who are over 50 plus. And so when you talk about businesses and things that if you're conducting business, even if you don't perceive yourself as a senior business, you probably are in fact needing to make sure that the people that you work with understand the needs of seniors. You could be a car repair place, you could be an air conditioning repair place, you could be whatever business that you're in. You're going to be dealing with seniors here in Brevard. And what we're doing with helping seniors and with WMEL is providing that information that really improves the quality of life for seniors.
And just think about this now. Of the 545,000 people who live in Brevard County, how many of them are seniors? Roughly 245,000. And of those 245,000 seniors, they live in a house and they have a garage. And more people have problems with their garage doors, and especially the garage door openers. And for years, I've been listening to Howard Garage Doors. And I know that when I say it, the reason I say it that way is because they've advertised on this radio station for what?
25 years.
25 years. And I'm sure that not only does Howard Garage Doors get business, John, the people that they serve get a good product.
Very, very proud of our association with companies like Howard Garage Doors, Joe, since you brought that up, and we hadn't kind of rehearsed that. We weren't going to talk about that, but Howard Garage Doors has been an outstanding sponsor, friend of ours, or we like to call it a partner of our radio station, as we said, for 25 years. And real quickly, before we move on to some other topics I know you want to get to, Joe, let me also mention Pani Vino Italian Restaurant.
I was glad you did, because I was going to mention if you didn't.
Yeah, I'm getting hungry thinking about it. But Pani Vino, a great story I love to tell. Pani Vino was our very first sponsor when we started WMEL Radio now almost 26 years ago. They've been with us ever since then. They've never been off the air with us. They've been on the air with us all that time, and they've become more like family than anything else. We've had birthday parties there, Christmas parties. We even had the wake for my mother was held there in Pani Vino. And Carmelo, the owner, along with his great staff, wonderful people. And I've traveled the world, and as I always like to say, it's food as good as your mother would make. And that little catch line actually came from my little Italian mother, because she was outstanding as a cook. Pani Vino is almost as good as food my mother would make.
I know they make good bruschetta there. So all of you that know what bruschetta is, if you want to go to a good place to get bruschetta, you can go to Pani Vino and get it there, because Terry and I were eating supper there one night, and Bob and Ann Downey, Bob is now deceased, but Bob and Ann saw us, came in, and Ann brought over a piece of the bruschetta that they went there all the time for the bruschetta because they liked it so much.
I think we should have a WMEL appreciation party there at Pani Vino with all of the listeners and sponsors, Joe, of your show, and invite everybody over to meet them.
Maybe we ought to do that soon. We'll talk to them about that.
Yeah.
this is you're hitting something that we need to do, John. We need to do something that causes the seniors to want to unite. Kerry's going to talk a little bit about advocacy, and he's going to talk a little bit about senior program leadership, because this is something that we're sadly lacking in. That's not my radio phone. That's the radio station owner that forgot to turn off his cell phone in the radio booth, and that's a cardinal rule he should not violate.
I didn't think they would be calling again, especially the person who's calling me. Yes.
So now you're chastised. Okay.
Yes.
All right. You're forgiven, though. We forgive you.
All right.
Kerry, go ahead and talk about it.
Well, when we talk about the senior advocacy thing, one of the things that's a statistic that we've brought up and we've talked about in a county where half of the people are at least they're eligible for AARP discounts. The question is, are we doing enough? If we want to promote Brevard County to be an elder-friendly community, which is what we tell people we are, how can we help our government do that? And so you had the vision a couple of years ago of establishing the Advocacy Council to start the process of getting things moving in a direction where not only are we asking the seniors, what is it you need in our community to help you? And as you've talked about a lot of times, it's not necessarily streetlights. It's much more practical kind of things that need to be in place to help seniors if we're going to be elder friendly. And so to that, this was a discussion we were having at lunch yesterday as we were talking about Steve Paff and his wife, Christina. They're both strong supporters of helping seniors through their organization, which is In-Home Professional Services. And Steve is a marketing guy. So he's like, Kerry, we've got to we really want to get this word out and get people involved in helping seniors. So the things like you guys are talking about, it really is a community. And I think as people come together and start working together, as we saw in an election, whether you agree or disagree, the people spoke, and it sort of changed the way things move now as we're going forward on a presidential level. But the same thing is true. The people who represent us in this county, they are people we've elected. So if we, as senior advocates, we need to make sure they know the things that seniors need. And so the whole point of the Senior Advocacy Council is to help organize those thoughts and those needs. And so everybody that would see a value of participating or having their voice heard in that, the way to get involved is call Kay on the Senior Information Hotline at 321-473-7770 and say, Kay, I want to get involved. Can you connect me to the next meeting?
To add a little bit more to that, Kerry, we talk about the senior advocacy. I was thinking about something just right by me, but we're talking about getting people involved.
There's an army of people, and they're quite vocal. When you sit down and you talk to them at a trade show, they'll tell you what they need and where they think there's room for improvement. And that's really the goal for senior advocacy. There's a lot of people who talk about the need for helping children with education, food lunch programs, and things like that. And that's all very, very important. But somebody has to be the voice in saying, there has to be somebody who's fighting for people, especially when they can't fight for themselves.
Right. I remember now exactly what we were talking, folks, and seniors represent the second largest source of revenue for the state of Florida. Seniors. Same thing I would imagine here in Brevard County. And I asked the Brevard County Comptroller one time how much the seniors contributed. They had absolutely no idea. They had no idea of the numbers. Now, the reason why that's so important is that we elect 5 people to be commissioners. And they're supposed to represent the people, just like the senators and the congressmen are supposed to represent the people that they elect. We in Brevard County have a budget of $1.1 billion. The amount of money that goes into programs that help not just seniors, but all nonprofit organizations in Brevard County is way less than 0.1% of that money. That's not right. And one of the reasons that the commissioners and the county manager get away with not supporting more of these programs is that they say, well, we have to have roads, we have to have this, we have to have that. what people don't know is the amount of money that goes into these retirement programs that we, the people, pay for county people that have all this retirement income and second jobs and everything else. There's a lot that's not right, but we'll never make it right or even approach being right if we don't have advocacy from the seniors themselves. And that's one of the reasons I think what you're talking about is so important.
Well, and not only that, there's the statistic, and I need to go and research this because I want to give a figure with it. But we used to do this. It would be probably shocking to most people the amount of Social Security money that gets deposited into this county. I think you quoted the statistic, we're the 24th oldest county in America by percentage, right?
Yes. In terms of number of people over the age of 65, we're 24 out of 3,070 counties in the United States.
And so if you want to talk about who's paying taxes and who is creating an economic benefit in our county, there is really the strongest answer you can come up with is seniors. And so the question is, what is our responsibility back to the seniors? What are we giving back to them? And so obviously organizations like Helping Seniors, this is what we're all about. This is what we're committed to. And so part of it is, I don't think people inherently ignore the problem. I think it's just if we can do a better job of communicating what the need is, I think people will rise to the occasion. So that's our challenge. We have to do that well. And hopefully as we tackle all the things now with the expanded signal on WMEL, I mean, this is phenomenal. This is we're on FM, we're on AM, we're online. As you know, we take the programs, we put them up on the helpingseniorsofbrevard.org website. People can go back, and say, well, I remember Joe was talking about a certain topic 2 years ago, and they can go back, put in the search button, I want to hear Joe talking about this, and it will pop up, and they can access those programs. That's why this kind of communication is so important. We're telling the story.
Yeah. Someday they're going to go and say, 2 years ago, Kerry was talking about something like that. And I'll go back and listen to what Kerry had to say.
Well, hopefully he said something good.
No, seriously, John, darn, you've been in radio so many years, and look at what we've accomplished here in Brevard County with this radio station. And think about where we were 20-some years ago when we didn't. And it was within a month after I started with you doing the Elder Hour radio show. I had the offer of the contract from Talk One Radio in Los Angeles, an audience of 10 million people, and they wanted me to do a 3-hour daily talk show 5 days a week. And you and I talked about it. And of course,
we debated that at great length. Yeah.
Yeah, but I stayed right here, and Terry did want to move. I didn't want to move. Why would I want to go to Los Angeles? That's bad stuff. I want to stay right here. Bill Mick went out to California. He came back here. But, I have fun, folks, doing what I do. I have fun talking with John and Kerry. I hope they have fun, too. Talk radio is a special thing. You actually can offend somebody, and you could come back, though, and apologize. And it's very easy to make an offensive statement without thinking of it, to a careless slip of the word. But I can remember over the years that I've had people call at home and call me at my house and say how much they appreciated the fact that they got this piece of information, because in one case, it caused a nursing home to return $30,000 to a family that they had overpaid their bill. And they didn't realize it until they talked to me about it. And all it took was one phone call from me, and they got their $30,000 back. Another person, they had Alzheimer's, and they went into a car dealer, and one of the salesmen sold this guy a car. And they went in to get a window fixed. And the wife was beside herself. And she called me. And I said, well, let me make a phone call. And I did. And they weren't too nice to me. I said, I'll just call the Elder Abuse Hotline, let them handle it. And they did. Within 2 hours, their money was refunded. power of radio and press is tremendous. And if you use it the right way, think of all the good we can do. John?
Little bit of history of WMEL radio to our listeners, and Joe and Kerry, who are with us here today. We started out, I don't know if you remember this or not, Joe, but when we first started WMEL radio 26 years ago, we started out as classic talk radio. And the whole meaning behind that was we were not trash talk. We didn't do things that were offensive to people. We tried to entertain and inform. Now, we didn't keep the word, the logo Classic Talk too long because people were confusing us with Classic Coke.
Coke.
And it didn't work too well. But the idea was there, the concept was there that on our radio station, we really don't want to offend. We want to entertain and inform people of things that are happening in the community, in the state, in the nation, and throughout the world.
Well, that's to me, that's what makes talk radio so interesting. Kerry, you've been on many sides of talk radio. What do you think about what John and I are talking about?
Well, you know what I was thinking is when you used the term, John, you said classic talk radio. It kind of goes with something that we discovered in our own radio journey of working with what we called at that time in the New York City, Madison Avenue world, upper demos. and one of the things that we realized is when you think about the term senior, how it's often used, senior means that you have a tremendous amount of experience. You've been around the block once or twice. You understand how to get things accomplished. And one of the things I was thinking about, there's a reason why calls to 211 get forwarded over to Kay and the Helping Seniors Hotline, is because you go to somebody who has the experience to get things done. The same reason why people listen to talk radio. They're listening to voice of experience. They're listening to people who can provide solutions and ideas. And sometimes you're just one idea away from a whole way of resolving a problem that you just thought was going to stop you. And so having that kind of positive and informative and constructive talk radio is, I think, really what you were aspiring to. And I love the term classic talk radio.
It was good. I liked it, but like I said, Kerry, it became confusing at that time. Classic Coke was big, and it became an issue of what's classic Coke versus regular Coke, and people were wondering what's classic talk compared to just regular talk. So the message became a little muddy.
Right.
Okay, let's crystal ball for the future for a couple of minutes, okay? Crystal ball, folks. How much we have? We got 2 minutes. It's going to be a quick crystal ball. Kerry, your thoughts on how we can do a better job of advocating for seniors here in Brevard County?
Every place you go next year, you're going to be seeing Helping Seniors. You can't really open up a print publication without seeing Joe's article, and Joe is the go-to guy. He's the expert. He's been doing this. I've told him, Joe, you got to write the book. You have to write the book. You're the guy who's got to write the book on helping seniors, not only to chronicle what you've done from your experience, a career of everything from the Naval Home to how you built helping people with dementia and things like that in the Alzheimer's world, but then tirelessly advocating for seniors with Helping Seniors. You've got to write the book because it's also a roadmap for future generations on what they're supposed to do. And I'm excited about the fact we're going to be at talk shows. We're going to be continuing to do the radio, the television, all of that. It's going to be an exciting year.
John?
I couldn't agree more with what Kerry is talking about. We will continue to be very senior friendly here at WMEL Talk Radio, and look forward in the new year to a lot more issues, topics, discussions with people in the know that can help the growing senior population here in the east central portion of Florida.
Okay. I want to thank both you, John Harper, and you, Kerry Fink, for being on with me today on the radio show. It's been a pleasure for me to sort of be the MC for the show, but things are going to change in the future. Kerry's going to take more of the direction. I want to step back a little bit, folks, because it's time to get young, new blood into the program, but there will still be people around to help. And please, I want you all to have a very, very Merry Christmas. I wish it to you just a little bit earlier because I might forget it next week.
Well, you're going to be here next week.
No, I'll be here. But if you have a question, Kerry mentioned the phone number to reach Kay, our information specialist. It's 321-473-7770. 473-7770. And thank you, John. Thank you, Kerry. We'll see you next week, folks.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Joe.